Hey everybody and welcome back to another episode of the Navs Effect podcast. I'm your host Naveen Ganglani. It's another solo episode for today as we recap the intense action of the UAAP Final Four, shall we say, and we're actually live right now as we're streaming this on YouTube and Facebook, and we'll be uploading this later on Spotify as well. So, if you're a returning listener of the podcast, thank you so much for tuning in. And by the way, our loyal listeners, I've been seeing the screenshots you guys have been sending me in your Spotify Wrapped that the podcast is one of your top listens of the year. And trust me when I say that means the world to me. It really, really does. It's I have so much gratitude for all of you who did that. So thank you. And if you're a new listener of the podcast, thanks for checking us out. And I hope that you'll be staying in for the long haul. If you guys missed it, we actually did the Final Four preview episode a few days ago with Simon and Carl. And I know we've already played the Final Four. One series is over. But if you just want to go back and listen to some laughs because it was quite a hilarious episode, go check that out. And to those who did check it out, thank you so much. So, we're recording this 11:15 p.m. on a Wednesday evening, December 3. The Final Four took place at the Smart Araneta Coliseum in Cubao. I unfortunately was not able to go cover the games live again. I haven't covered games live for more than close to 3 weeks now. And the reason why I can't quite reveal just yet. In fact, I actually didn't think I was gonna get to watch the games at all today given how the morning went. But fate has a funny way of playing hide and seek with you, shall we say. More on that when the time is right. But here we are, and I did get to watch the games. We had two entertaining games, one ultra entertaining game, shall we say, and another one that was competitive, a little bit one sided, but also a little bit surprising. So there's a lot to unpack there. And by the way, for those who want to chime in on the comments while we're recording this, feel free to do so. I'd be happy to answer some questions later as well. So, UP scores a 1 point victory over UST to go back to the finals for a fifth straight season. Every year they've been coached by Goldwyn Monteverde and his staff, including the returning Tom Chua. Coach Tom, it was nice to see you back on the sidelines. Hope you're feeling better. They made the finals. And in the other game, DLSU scores a 10-point victory against NU 87-77. So LaSalle, if they win on Saturday 3:30 p.m. against NU, and the rubber match will set up a finals trilogy against the Fighting Maroons. And NU, if they end up preventing another defeat as a one seed, because remember back in 2013 they were number one and they lost to number four UST. They will set up a date against UP in a series that has its own storylines, shall we say. So let's tackle UP UST first. Game of runs in the first quarter. UST starts 11-0. UP responds with a 19-0 spurt powered by Harold Alarcon. UP's up for most of the second quarter ahead by double digits. UST starts building some momentum there towards the end of the second period, and they cut it to 7 at halftime. And then UST starts strong in the third period. Before you knew it, they had tied the game in the third quarter. I'm not sure if they took the lead in the third quarter, but they definitely tied it. UP was up a few possessions entering the final quarter, and then it became a back and forth bonanza, shall we say. Just haymakers from each side. Each team unwilling to defeat. Just part of the magic of the Final Four, right? When you got two teams playing their damn hardest, playing their hearts out, especially the graduating players, knowing it might be their final game in this case for UST, and they just left it all out on the court. As a basketball aficionado, whether you're a fan or just a casual spectator, you just gotta respect the energy and performance that we saw there on the big dome floor. Now, let's take a look at some stats quickly, and I am curious again to those tuning in live, leave your comments, give me your analysis of the game, tell me what you think. So for UP, Harold Alarcon leads the way with 22 points. Francis Noruka, who in my opinion had his best game in the Fighting Maroons jersey, which is saying something because he's had quite a few impressive games. 19 points and 8 of 14 shooting, 9 boards, 2 steals, 3 blocks. Fortea, of course, hit the big three-pointer the go-ahead shot with under a minute to go. He had 8 points. Ray Ramagat with 9 points and 4 of 8 shooting, with 4 boards and 4 assists. On UST side, Nick Cabanero, 24 points, 8 of 19 field goal shooting. We'll talk about him more later. Colin Seco with 11 points, 11 boards, 6 assists, and 3 blocks. Kyle Paranado, 10 points and 2 of 10 shooting. Fortsky Padrigao, 6 points on 3 of 13 shooting. So Fortsky and Kyle, the graduating guards, combined for 16 points and 5 of 23 shooting. Jello Crisostomo played only 21 minutes, 15 points, 6 of 11 field goals, 7 rebounds. It looked like he was battling, I think it might have been cramps there at the second half, and we didn't see a lot of him. But UST nearly had this game wrapped up. Sometimes the breaks of the game, as we saw in the last possession, goes a certain way. So we'll get to that last possession shortly, particularly as we talk about how UP was able to secure that victory in a way you don't always see. You know, most of the time the other team gets the foul, but UP did what UP does. They do these little things to secure the wins. Hey Jenny, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate the comment. So I brought my trusty pad, as you guys probably know I have now, which I've been doing the last few episodes. Just because I wanted to take down certain notes and situations that I wanted to talk about on the pod. So 70-68, UP took the lead after a Raylan Torres three-pointer from the corner. After that, 70-66 actually. After that, Colin Sokowe gets an N1 play on a dunk off a nice dish from Kyle Paranada. He had a few nice passes to Collins in this contest. And then after that, Mark Lemon ties the game 70-70. And then with 5 minutes, 3 seconds left, I won't forget this situation. Nico Baniero had an open three-pointer in transition, decided to pass it to an open Asido in the corner for the lead, and that displayed a lot of trust because the possession before that, Asido was actually called for an offensive foul, which sometimes for a young player, he's only in his second season, can derail your confidence a bit. But Nick really showing how much his game has grown. I know people still criticize him for not passing enough, but it's actually improved compared to his early years in the league. Now, granted, the first few years in the league, when he was in the UAAP, he had to shoot more and take most of the shot attempts out of necessity because of the lack of talent in these teams. But anyway, Asido makes the shot. Eventually, though, UP retakes the lead. Naruka, one of the big baskets he hit in the fourth period, 74-73. UST, by the way, is in the zone defense this whole time in the fourth quarter, trying to limit and slow down the Fighting Maroons offense. Cabanero scores again later on, makes it 77-75. And then there's a goaltending call. Akoe blocked Gani Stevens' shot. It was reviewed by the refs. It was a goaltending. Very, very slim margin there. Could have been a block, but the replay showed it was a goaltending, but it was very close. And then 79-77, Forsi Padragao makes his first of two floaters. 79 all. Naruka ties the game. Again, another big shot by Francis Naruka. And this was a layup where he kind of went undeterred going to the rim, which at that point, if you're UST, you need to be better. You can't just give a wide open, well, not wide open, but a relatively easy layup like they did. But Padragao comes back and scores another floater, 81-79. And it's interesting because at that point, Fortsky had really struggled from the field, like we talked about. For the game, he finished just 3 out of 13. So he had made only one shot before that. And then he makes two huge shots. And I took mental notes of the floater because I remember during the preseason, I had this conversation with Fortsky where I was like, Fort, when you were in Ateneo, you were taking a lot of floaters, but your first season at UST, season 87 last year, you were settling more for outside shots. And he gave me a very good explanation for it. He was like, yeah, when I was in Ateneo, I had Ange Kwame screening for me. And Ange Kwame is one of the greatest screeners we've ever seen from a UAAP big man. And Motong Kara last year, for all these offensive talents, not exactly the greatest screener. Now, Colin Sokowe is a better screener. Not Ange Kwame level, but he's a big enough body to get these guards open, which is why I was surprised why Fortsky was settling for so many threes throughout the season. But he went with the float game, and he made 2 baskets. And then UP went up 81-79. However, they get a stop, And Fortsky has an up and under move. He fakes out his defender. It was a pick and roll play. He got his defender on his hip. Might have been Fortea, I'm not sure. And Naruka tried to go for the block, but Fortsky went up and under. He just left the layup a little bit short. And if you watch the replay properly, you see that Akowe is in great position for the offensive rebound. He gets that offensive rebound. He puts that shot. The ball is literally inches away from his fingertips. He gets the offensive rebound. He puts it back. UP goes up 83-7. I mean, UST goes up 83-79. However, the ball, this is when I say the bounces of the game, can sometimes make or break a season, just bounces a little past his fingers, past his hands, and it goes to UP. They push the pace. They have a numbers advantage. Lemet and Cabanero both don't get out to Fortea long enough after he relocates, puts up the three, and I've watched Terrence Fortea for 5 years in the UAAP. I watched him in high school before that too. There are just some shots when Terrence Fortea lets it go, some big moments, and you just know it's going in. And that ball felt like it was going in the moment it left his hands. True enough, squish. UP goes up 82-81. So fast forward later on, UST has the chance to take the lead, and they go with pistol action featuring Nick Cabanero. He has a clear out left side of the court. He has Raylan Torres guarding him. And he's being criticized for the shot attempt. I don't have any problem with going ISO Nick ball because, yes, for the missed shots he had, he was the one who was actually keeping UST alive in the middle of the game when UP threatened to blow this away. And there were some plays he would just attack Stevens, attack Naruka, attack UP's defenders, get to the paint, use his body, create space, get to the free throw line. So I thought going with that when it had been working a lot throughout the game was a good idea by the UST staff. I mean, it also makes sense, right? Graduating player, someone who was bled, sweat, sacrificed so much for UST, your best scorer this season, you're one of your mythical 5 players. You go with him. If there is one criticism I have for how that play unfurled is I thought instead of settling for a turnaround jumper, Nick should have attacked the paint, gotten closer to the rim. Not only because I think he could have overpowered Torres and gotten a better shot attempt rather than turnaround jumper, but also because I think you get closer to the rim, you take a shot closer to the rim, you give Akowe a better chance to get an offensive rebound. Maybe he puts it back up, maybe he kicks it out. At that point, you're only down 1. You need a 2-point field goal to take the lead. But it didn't work out that way. And these high leverage situations, sometimes you gotta make split decisions. I mean, you can plan what you want to do off a timeout. And there's also one play where UST ran a beautiful design play to get Nick curling of staggered screens towards the rim, but he missed the layup. But sometimes you gotta make your decision on the fly. And he made this decision. He's gotta live with it now. Breaks of the game. After that, UP plays takeaway. They push the ball to the other end. I believe it was Akowe and Gani going for the basketball. Gani slapped it. Goes to the backcourt. And Fortsky's trying to track it. Now, if Fortsky gets that ball, he has enough headway going to the rim. Now, Abadiano was there to guard him potentially. But you don't want to take that risk at that moment when you're only up by 1 if you're UP, right? Instead, Abadiano boxes out almost Fortsky. And if you watch the replay again, you notice he only touches the ball the moment Fortsky kind of puts his fingers on it to try to go for the ball. Very smart heads-up play by a very smart veteran savvy guard in the UAAP. And that's something skills and honestly training won't teach. I mean, you can hammer details, you can hammer specific situation instructions to your players as much as possible. But if they don't have the basketball IQ to make those decisions in 0.5 seconds on the fly, like Abadiano did there, that might cost you the game. But because Jerry is one of those smarter players, and he's been well groomed by this coaching staff to be a hustle player from the very start, to do the little things, to do the intangibles, it pays off in the big moments. What's the quote again? What you do in silence echoes loudest in front of everyone. That's what happened. Jerry makes a heads up play. UST literally runs out of time. It's ecstasy for one side and heartbreak for the other. There's a video we posted on All Star Magazine, and I have to give credit to my team for doing a good job today. Chin, Javi, Marco, Vin, our photographer. You guys are the best. There's a video of Akoa just banging his head on the sanction underneath the rim. Banging it like that and like that while the UP him is playing. It felt like it was straight out of a movie, honestly. And why I love moments like those is because there's gonna be some point this off season where Colin Sakoa is working out very early in the morning or very late at night, and he's gonna feel some exhaustion. He's gonna feel fatigue. He's gonna be tired, and he's just gonna say, "Screw it, I'm good already. Why do I have to keep working?" And then that scene's gonna pop back in his head, and he's gonna remember the pain that he felt. He's gonna remember the disappointment, and that's gonna keep him going. And that's the beauty, kind of overly romantic side of sports. Granted, I love it anyway. That really tugs at the heartstrings of many people. It's the emotional side of it. How you can lay it out all on the floor, give it your all, play your heart out, sacrifice time, mental health, physical health, and all that. And at the end of the day, people can just say you suck on the Facebook comments, even if they don't know shit about basketball. They're gonna do it anyway. You can do all that sacrifice, and that's what's gonna happen anyway. But you do it for the chance, albeit sometimes slight, to feel the joy of winning, to feel the joy of achieving what you thought might have been impossible at one point. And like I said, there's going to be a certain point this off season over the next few months. Colin Sakova is going to be tired, and he's going to remember that moment, and it's going to drive him to want to be better. And he is going to be a better player. Too good. He's too good to not improve over the next few years. And I hope he remembers that, because it's going to be the kind of fuel that he's going to need. So I'm going to get to the UST guys quickly, but first I just want to acknowledge what has been almost flying under the radar, taken for granted, but is absurd when you think about it. Now, UP has made 6 out of the last 7 UAAP finals dating back to 2018. And the one year they didn't make it, 2019, they were the 2 seed, twice the B team, eliminated by UST, the Aldenayo UST Growling Tigers. Just think about it. This was a squad that had winless seasons, 3 winless seasons in the Final Four era, still the most out of any UAAP team. This was a squad that 11 years ago celebrated a bonfire for winning once against the other worst team in the league, Adamson at that point. And while everyone else outside of UP kind of laughed at it almost, they were sparking something they wanted to believe in. Now, granted, there's been a lot of help since. Nowhere to go but up. Alumni coming together to help the team. John Vic Remulla, obviously. Pato Gregorio helping with the recruitment. And a lot of the help came once the team started winning, right? But that's the case for a lot of programs. But just reflect on that. How you take a team like UE, they haven't made the Final Four since 2009, and they keep restarting. And here's UP, who just absolutely turned it around. And whatever the reasons you want to give for why they're so good, one thing you cannot deny is that when it comes to winning basketball, whether that's having to be extra physical, having to make big shots, having to make the extra plays, the intangible plays, like Abadiano did, they consistently do it. And they've been doing it at such a high level since 2022 because of their head coach and that staff. Tom Chua, Christian Loanzon, of course, Golden Monteverde. And they've added to it Eric Gonzalez. They had the KBL coach. This isn't common. And UP fans, I know many of you don't take it for granted, but a lot of the new fans who only became fans after the pandemic and after they started winning and then feel the need to trash talk you so much online like they've been around forever, right? I don't think they fully understand what this means. A lot of them who only experienced the winning era of UP don't remember what the losing era was like. And those who did remember what that era was like, don't take this for granted. They do not, because it's special. I mean, 5 finals appearances in the last 5 years. I posted the exact number here. Let me find it. I had this post on Facebook today. And of course, the commenters were like, oh, pera ni John Vic. Oh, funds ng ganyan. Blah, blah, blah. That's discrediting the work the coaching staff and the players do year after year. So, since becoming the head coach of the UP Fighting Maroons, Golden Monteverde has a 67-21 win-loss record. 2 championships, 5 finals appearances, 5 twice-to-beat advantages. Out of the 5 finals appearances, they were only pushed to 2 games in the Final Four once when they had the twice-to-beat advantage. And that was the first year against DLSU. What they're doing is insane. And what he's doing is remarkable. And he's been doing this since coaching high school, Adamson and the National University. Gotta give him props. He's starting to enter that GOAT conversation when we talk about UAAP men's basketball coaches since the Final Four era, since 1993. To me, number one is still Franz Pomaren because of the body of work. I mean, the 4-peat, 2 more championships. I know that one was taken away and given to FEU, but I'm going to remember the action on the court for that year. And the action on the court that year, LaSalle won in 2004. And then on top of that, 6 championships, I said 3 more finals appearances that they lost, 02, 05, 08. And that's why I have Francis my number one still. My number two is Norman Black. That 5-peat was insane, plus 1 more finals appearance. And honestly, if Norman Black stayed longer, had as long a tenure as France did, maybe, or even just a bit shorter, he'd probably be number one on the list. Number 3 to me is Coach Tab Baldwin. 4 championships, an undefeated season, 2 more finals appearances. He's number 3. And if you told me he was year 1 or Norman's year 1 and Francis year 2 or in some order, I'm okay with that honestly, because each of them make a legit case. But I think for me at least 1 is Franz, 2 is Norman, 3 is Tab, 4 at this point I'm gonna say Coach Goldwyn. I just read out the resume, and this is just men's basketball. If we count high school basketball too, he might have a case to join those other guys. But to me, he's number 4 right now, and he's on the way up. He's on the way up. He could continue that legacy. Some people might say you have him over Coach Nash, and I have a lot of respect for Coach Nash. He has 1 championship, 2 finals appearances, and getting Adamson to the Final Four, given their lack of resources and talent, is an accomplishment of its own. But I think Gold is 4 right now, and Nash is 5. And by the way, I'm doing this list at 11:37 p.m. after a tiring day. So if I forgot anyone, I'm sorry. You guys just let me know. But just watch out for that. Coach Gold is climbing up the ranks, and what he's doing is, over the last 5 years, it's the kind of stuff that elite programs do. And that's what UP is right now. They're an elite men's basketball program. Let's read some comments here before we continue. Hello to the Magnolia Hot Shots page. John Michael Tolentino says, Season 87 semis was for that Game 1 loss in 82. 88 semis is for that Game 2 loss in 82. A game for a game. Cap an emphatic triple in the dying seconds of the game. Oh! I like the symbolism there. So Fortea's 3-pointer almost makes up for Subido's 3-pointer back in 2019. Ha! Good way of putting it. Hello to Renel. Thanks for tuning in. Win Late Night Pod. Absolutely. Ilang taon na si KQ at ano ang height niya? Pa-Wikipedia na lang yan, please. And yeah, hello to our other viewers right now. If you're watching on Spotify, not live, thank you also for tuning in. Now let's get to the UST side of things. Regarding the SMC UST partnership, because this is year 3, and Matthew Lee! Bro, you know I'm not sleeping yet. I know you're not sleeping yet, bro. You know what it's like. You know it. Sorry, Matthew Lee is my guy. He is the main editor and the owner of Tiebreaker Times, one of the best websites in the Philippines as well. You guys make sure to check it out and check out the work he does. So, 3-year partnership now, UST and SMC. Missed the Final Four the first year, a rebuild year. Makes the Final Four as the third seed the next 2 years. Loses last year to the eventual defending champions. Um, loses last year to the eventual champions and loses this year to the defending champions. So year 4, what's that like? Well, I spoke briefly with some sources. I'm sorry. Someone just said Jermaine Bird is the GOAT coach of the UAP, and that made me laugh for a second. All right, back to UST. Somewhere Keyshawn Meeker just shivered. Back to UST. What I was told by a source is that SMC side would love to continue supporting the Growling Tigers. This source told me now it's up to UST, the school, if they want to keep the partnership going. Now, the current coaching staff is under the impression practices will resume after the new year. But I'm sure there will be talks first before making sure that happens. And at least from what I'm told right now, the ball is on UST, the school's side. So will it happen? Remains to be seen. Will we find out? Some drama lurking there. Or maybe it's nothing. Maybe they figure something out real quick and next year they're back. Because when you look at UST's roster for the future, yes, they're losing Paranada. Yes, they're losing Padragao, Estacio, and Caballero. But Akolwe, like I said, is going to get better. Mark Lemet, I really liked what I saw from him this season in spurts. I think he has great potential. Jello Chrysostom, I don't need to go more into this, how good this guy is. I've done it in so many episodes this season. He's a stud. Amiel Acido, not yet a super reliable player, but at least offensively, he can contribute. The 3-point shooting is good. And I think he's improving in the other areas as well. They have Christian Porter, who was pretty decent for Ateneo's first year last year, coming in next year. Michael Mara, if he can stay healthy. More Alaw also coming in after residency, the ultimate college basketball journeyman. So there are some pieces there to work with, and people are like, "Oh yeah, but those guys weren't so good this year, and they're losing, their main scorers and main players from this season." Well, duh, obviously, but they're not the only team losing guys. You look at across the league. I mean, UP's losing their Maroon 5, LaSalle's losing Mike Phillips, NU's losing Figueroa, UE is losing maybe quite a few players. Adamson's losing Manzano. Guys will leave the UAP, and the guys who are in their middle years now will eventually be the seniors, like the seniors this year were a few years ago, and they're the ones who are going to be the stars of the league. And UST has quite a few players who can be that kind of level of player. So a lot to be excited about for UST, and if they can continue this partnership with SMC, which in my opinion has been a good turnaround for the program after some pretty dark years there, then they can be in position to keep competing for the Final Four. Now, Nick Caballero, I made a video about this. I had a long post about this on Facebook. I personally think he should be considered a UST icon. Now, granted, he didn't have a lot of winning seasons, right? His best season was this year, 8-6. And the most he did was take his team to the Final Four, not the finals. But when you consider what he went through his first few years, when you consider that he could have transferred to another top UAB program because there were offers and there was potential for him to transfer, but decided to stick it out and stay loyal to UST, when you consider that in the first 3 years of his career, or rather the second and third years of his career, second year sophomore season is when it really blossomed. If he didn't put up big scoring games, they had no chance of winning. That pressure was on him game after game, and he tried to deliver as well as he can. And even after they got Padragao, after they got some new reinforcements, he changed his game. Now, he was still taking control of the ball and looking to get his points, but he would look to change his game too. He looked to improve his passing. He looked to improve his defense. He became more of a leader in the locker room. And I think he deserves more credit than he's getting for that. What he stands for is what you want to see out of the best players of your favorite team, right? Loyalty, being faithful, palaban. you can criticize the basketball X's and O's, the fundamentals and whatnot, and he's not perfect in that regard, but he helps more than he hurts. And that's something we need to remember when we criticize players nowadays. It's that we so often focus and magnify what they can't do or what their weaknesses are that it makes us forget that without what they can bring and what they can do to begin with, that your favorite team might not be in the position to win. And off the court, he's just such a nice guy. Such a nice guy. We've become friends over the years. I remember one time I ran into him at Jamba Juice at BGC. And we just ended up talking, I think, casually for like an hour and a half, standing there in the corner. My wife was waiting for me in the back. His girlfriend, Cello, who's also very nice, was waiting for him too. And we were just chatting about the most random things. And that's Nick. When he knows you, he cares about you. He cares about you as a person. He cares about what's new in your life, and he asks you about it too. And he's genuine and authentic. And I just wanted to take this moment to show appreciation to him, not just for the person he is, but also the player he's been and what he's meant to this UST community. And I don't know what many of you considered a team's icon or legend or whatever, but to me, what he did, staying loyal, being faithful, when he could have easily left, when he could have taken the easy way out, and then being there through up to the point where UST becomes competitive again, that makes him an icon for me. All right, we're going to get to some of the questions later. Keep them coming, guys. Really appreciate everyone tuning in right now. Fortsky Padragao, we know about the complicated story. We know about the off-court aspects. And I already wrote a story about that for Rappler a few years ago. So just the basketball side of things. The shooting percentages the last 2 years weren't great for UST. And I think that hurt them in a lot of cases. But you also have to take into account what he brought, being almost like a culture changer for the Growling Tigers. They played faster, they moved the ball better. He was a leader off the court. He did a great job gathering his teammates together, keeping that circle tight and close when it could have broken from the outside. And there are a lot of faults in his story on and off the court, like I said. But at least on the basketball side of things, the way his teammates learn to respect him, learn to trust him, and put the ball in his hands literally in key stretches, that was evident over the last 2 seasons. And if he doesn't go to UST, I don't think they become a Final Four team the last 2 years. They needed a legit guard. Not a game manager, but a playmaker to keep the ball moving, to keep things rolling when it would get sticky, and you have to give him props for that. Kyle Paranada, well, I feel like if he stays with UE, he is their leading scorer over the last few years. But he wanted a new spot to shine. He went to UST. If you look back at season 87, he didn't immediately earn the trust of Coach Pido and that staff. He was getting sporadic minutes. Later towards the season, he started earning their trust more, started playing better. He was hit or miss, and today he was more miss than hit. But there were aspects to his game that I thought were underrated too. Like some of the passes he gave to Okoye and sent Okoye's way for easy scoring opportunities this year were impressive. He made some shots when UST's opponents were going on rallies and they needed the spark of their own. So, not remarkable in terms of his final season in the UAP, but not terrible either. And he's shooting, his combo guard skills is another aspect that UST will kind of have to look to replace moving forward as well. Let's read some comments here now. Gino says, Padragao has high IQ. Ateneo would have not won over UP in the finals had it not been for Padragao. So funny story about that. After that series, season 85, when Ateneo won, I remember talking to Xavier Lucero, who unfortunately got injured in that series. And what he told me was that guy Forsky Padragao is cold. Cold. And what he was trying to say is Forsky was the unheralded hero of that series. And if you look back and watch those games, the way he controlled the flow and the offense for Ateneo, particularly in games 2 and 3, he made an impact. He wasn't perfect. He was misfiring a lot too, but he's a point guard. He is one of the few throwback point guards in a college basketball scene where we have the new wave, new age of guards now that's more towards the western side of hoops, where they look to score as much as they look to pass. So it's nice to see that Forsky has a bit of those throwback traits. Now, before we move on to the DLSU NU game, I want to talk about the friends of this podcast. First, Cooper's Coffee House. A big thank you to our friends. I'm sure Alec is pleased with the way today's game went. Cooper's Coffee House just opened their new branch in BGC. You guys make sure to go check it out. They also have a branch in Mount Ayala. They have a branch at SM Mega Mall and many other branches. You can check it out on their Instagram page. I always recommend the iced matcha and the brown butter latte. And their brown butter cold brew as well is awesome. Plus, they have some yummy treats. Their croissants are yummy. The pesto grilled chicken sandwich is to die for. So, if you're looking for a snack, if you're looking for a yummy drink, or if you're just looking for somewhere to chill on a hot afternoon, Cooper's Coffee House should be one of your go-to options. And also, a big thank you to our friends over at Daily Fantasy. I'm not sure if you guys know this, but Daily Fantasy has some big prize games taking place through the month of December. If you want to know which games specifically, look at the ticker underneath the screen. Watch this podcast and video so you can see. But to those who are listening on audio, the games in December with big prizes, Meralco versus Converge on December 14, and then Ginebra versus TNT on December 21. 125K on the line for Meralco versus Converge on December 14, and 1 week later, 150K for Ginebra versus TNT. Again, I'm putting it on the ticker on the screen. I also put a link to register for Daily Fantasy with a referral code that will earn you some rubies in the description box. You guys make sure to check that out. So, how do you win these big prizes? Well, just enter different lineups. You can put multiple lineups, which means multiple entries, multiple chances to win big prizes, and celebrate your Christmas in style. We all want to treat our families, right? When it comes to Noche Buena and Christmas gatherings and holiday gatherings, because they're coming soon. So who knows? This might be your chance to finally be the one to pay for the lechon at dinner while also maybe getting yourself a nice swaggy gift. Why not? Again, description box. Check it out. Thank you to Daily Fantasy and Cooper's Coffee House. Now, let's go to the DLSU NU game. Let's take a look at the stats real quick. And thank you once again to everyone tuning into this episode live, even if it's almost midnight. I can't believe we have this many viewers. That makes me very killing. I hope I said that right. Okay. So, LaSalle wins by 10. They get off to a hot start. They're up by 11 after one quarter. NU comes rallying back, cuts the lead to 2. As we enter halftime in the third quarter, DLSU starts off on fire and they're really in control for most of the game. NU shot above 50% in both elimination round wins against DLSU. This time, just 44.8% from the field. I say just, but that's actually still pretty good. But compared to what they shot in the elims against DLSU, it's significantly lower. NU 5 of 18 from downtown. They also went 12 out of 21 from the free throw line, 57%. Not good. Meanwhile, LaSalle shot 47.8% from the field, 17 of 26 from the foul line, 6 of 17 from downtown. But LaSalle did a good job winning the possession battle. Out-rebounded NU 45-32 and forced NU to 15 turnovers. Now, LaSalle had 17 turnovers of their own, but when you take into account how LaSalle won the rebounding battle, they were in control of the possessions, in control of the glass. Now, both teams ended up shooting the same amount of field goals, but in terms of physicality and pace and Aggressiveness, I felt like DLSU did a better job from the very start. They pushed the pace as much as possible. They didn't want to play the half court cerebral game that NU has gotten good at in the elimination round. Jake Figueroa had 20 points and 8 of 20% from shooting from the field. Not super efficient there. 20 points and 20 shots. 10 rebounds, 4 assists, yes, but also 8 out of his team's 50 turnovers, more than half. LaSalle converted 13 points out of NU's 15 turnovers. They scored 40 points in the paint. They had 37 bench points to NU's 31. They led by as much as 17. Cortez, 13 points. Phillips, 12 points, 17 boards. Marasigan, 10 points. Makalalag, 9 points. Goliena, 11. Abadam, 6. Pablo, 9. Amos, 8. And Kian Baclan, in his return, 6 points and 1 of 4 shooting. So what stood out for me in this game for LaSalle was their ball movement. Their ball movement was impressive. It felt like they were sharing it a lot. Now, there were moments that Jacob portrayed some of his one-on-one brilliance. Amos had that big crossover three-point shot in the fourth period that halted NU's run when it looked like they might make a comeback. And Phillips had some drives, obviously. But just the way they were moving the ball side to side, whether NU was going man or trying to go zone, really caught the Bulldogs off balance and gave LaSalle a lot of seams to attack, to get in the paint. And when you can establish yourself in the paint on offense early on, whether that's attacking in transition or attacking the teeth of the defense, that ultimately later on opens kick out opportunities and spaces the floor better, which allows your Mike Phillips to get a wide open lane for a dunk, which allows Mason Amos to be open from the top of the key for a back-breaking three-point shot, which allows JC Makalalag to be open from the corner when it comes time to hit the dagger. In not every facet of the game, but almost all facets of the game, LaSalle outplayed NU. And that's the first time this season they've done it because NU has had their number in season 88. And I felt that their aggression early on really sent a message to the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs, they matched it for a while there in the second period, but when LaSalle hit them with another haymaker to start the third quarter, and you couldn't counter. And NU is a team that when they're playing their style of play, when they're playing their pace, when they're playing their brand of physical, slow it down, but also organized basketball, they're dominant. But what LaSalle, and you have to give Coach Topex and his staff a lot of credit for this, what LaSalle tried to do, which is muck it up and and you have to play a faster pace, make it more of a track meet. That played right into the Green Archers' hands, and the Bulldogs fell for it. And I also want to talk about momentum. It's the most important thing, not just in sports, but in life. Shout out to James Cruz, my partner at All Star Magazine. He sent me a reel the other day, and I resonated a lot with it. He said, the most valuable resource for businessmen is momentum. I mean, a lot of people, they get started, they get one foot in the door, they get the other foot in the door, and then they go back out, which is a way of saying a lot of people start on their passions or their interests or their job or their objectives, their tasks, responsibilities, and then they take long breaks or they feel, the lack of motivation, they're not disciplined enough. And then when you start from scratch again, you basically kill all the progress you made. Now, I don't know why I'm going on a tangent here. We went from sports to a life discussion. But anyway, it happens a lot in sports, particularly in the UAAP. I've been saying this for a while now that the UAAP sometimes feels more like a sprint than a marathon because of how quickly the season unfurls. I mean, one bad week could screw up your season. Just ask Ateneo what happened to them in the middle of the elimination round. So, NU, they clinched the number one seed with a win against UE. But remember, that was a sloppy win. UE was up by double digits. And then NU turned it around quickly in the fourth quarter. And then after that, they played against UST and they played well. But it wasn't an impressive showing. In fact, it even cost Jake Figueroa his MVP award. And then they rest for a bit. They don't play for a while. And then they're facing a LaSalle team that if NU is trying to get the second or third gear, LaSalle is kind of in their fourth or fifth gear already. Why do I say that? Well, LaSalle had close losses against FU and Adamson. Those were tried and tested late game situations for them, even if they lost. And then their backs were against the wall. They heard all the criticism. Suddenly, their Final Four hopes were on the line. Their season was on the line. And then how did they respond after that? They beat UP. They're the only team UP did not beat in the elimination round. And then after that, they win in comeback fashion against Ateneo in a game Ateneo needed to survive, but LaSalle closed the door on them. So entering this game against NU, they were coming off that momentum, riding that wave, and it carried with them entering this game. While NU, you saw it took them to the second quarter to get to match the aggression of DLSU. But by the time the third quarter started, DLSU had just built so much rhythm, and NU had just caught up that again DLSU was able to kick it up a gear again so quickly, and NU was not able to recover. Now, am I saying this means that LaSalle is going to beat NU and set up a trilogy against UP? I'm not guaranteeing that. I give NU a legit chance to win on Saturday, but NU cannot procrastinate like they did today, because if they do, LaSalle is playing with so much momentum and confidence. And the dangerous thing if you're NU right now is it's not just Cortez or Phillips who's playing confident. It's really the whole team. They have their squad back. They have their squad from the preseason. They were dominating everyone. Well, almost everyone, I guess. And the team is playing together. That's what's dangerous. They're confident as individuals, but they're also playing as a collective. And again, Coach Topex deserves a lot of credit for that. In my opinion, he's had some great moments this season. He's also had some moments this season where you're hearing people question what he's doing. But ultimately with him, he does seem to find the right buttons to push to get this team going. So we'll see how they respond on Sunday. And again, they have a great chance. They were the number one seed for a reason. If they can get LaSalle to play their style of basketball, I think they can win. But now this is going to be a battle of identities, and let's see who establishes themselves first come this weekend. And by the way, one more thing I want to add. Our Final Four in the Phil Oil preseason tournament, if you forgot, was LaSalle versus UP in the semis and NU versus UST in the semis, and then NU UP in the finals. Who were our Final Four in the UAAP this year? NU, UP, UST, LaSalle. So for those saying the preseason doesn't matter, that it does nothing to help determine the UAP, we have years and years of proof that's not the case. And this year was proof. And one more thing we have years of proof of, if you don't believe in that momentum aspect I just talked about, hey, remember what happened in 2007 when UE sat out for so long and then a LaSalle team with momentum faced them? It's common. It happens more often than you think if you go back through UAAP history. All right, it's past midnight now. It's December 4 officially, and we still got more than 100 people tuning in. Thank you so much. Much love appreciated. Let's get to some comments. What's up, Bennett? LP9, nobody talks about Luis Pablo's defense and offense. I thought Pablo was superb. The one criticism I just had was when he bit on the Jake Figueroa up fake and then Figueroa got the N1 foul, but that's just Jake Figueroa for you. He's an MVP candidate for a reason. Pablo's improvement as the season has progressed has been really good. And also, has anyone noticed that jump shot is looking low-key efficient? It's in low volume. He's taking like one or two jumpers a game, but we're at the point now where he's taking them that you're confident he has the ability to make it, whether that's mid-range or downtown. Just imagine him next year with Seven Gagate, the LSGH boys running it back. Nice haircut, Nav. Oh, yes, Jojo. Jojo from Muy Guapito. Philip, you know him. That's my barber. That's my guy. Shout out to Jojo. Muy Guapito Barbers in Makati. Awesome at haircuts, awesome at shaves. Let's see, from JC. NU, from the players to the coaches, have to keep their emotions in check. I agree. That cost them the game. They wasted some scoring runs all game long because of their technical fouls. They were, and I'm glad you brought this up because you saw that they kind of let the officiating get in their heads earlier. From Cal, I bet a lot of your listeners now are up or DLSU fan. Who knows? Maybe they're Adamson fans. Who knows, right? Is Koji being okay? We're not in the off season. I'm not gonna talk about that yet. But one thing I know is UST loves Koji, and we'll see how it progresses. But I think for now he's gonna stay. Thoughts about the officiating? I've gone into this a lot this season. I've actually gotten into social media fights about this too. But here's what I have to say about officiating. It's not perfect. There are moments of inconsistency, but don't ever tell me who won or who lost a game was because of the referees. There are way too many things that happen in a basketball game to simply just say, oh, team A lost because the refs screwed them over, team B won because the refs liked them more. That's just not the case. It's disrespect to the game of basketball. Okay, Padrigal has high IQ. We already tackled this earlier. Naveen Ganglani, you guys just want scoops, don't you? Any scoop about the next rumored FSA for DLSU Torijetsu Adams? I wrote about him on All Star Magazine. Search his name. You'll find the article there. It's crazy to think that Akowe is just a rookie. Absolutely. Can you imagine if he plays all 5 years? I don't think he will, but just imagine if he does. Let's see. Gusto ko maging head coach ng NU si Franz Pumaren or Bonnie Tan. I should add the Francis resume. A couple of Final Four appearances for Adamson as well. Bonnie Tan. I wonder if he'd go back to the college game. Naveen Ganglani, in my honest opinion, I don't think that there's a problem between UST and SMC Group. The ball is in the hands of UST IPEA. That's a possibility too. Okay. This one was just funny. My top coach is Jermaine Bird of DLSU. He changed the dorm curfew from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. so there's room for BGC night. Bro, why'd you have to go there? Why'd you have to go there? Backcourt violation by yung final play sa UST UP. I've watched the replay about 3 or 4 times based on what I saw. It looks like Padrigal tried to tap the ball before Abadiano touched it, so I do not think it's a backcourt violation. All right, I guess that's our questions for now. Oh, new ones arrived. JP Manahan, have the favorites faved. Ladies and gentlemen, JP Manahan is a diehard Ateneo fan. In fact, in our Navs Effect exclusive community group chat, he always says, best school ever. But he also loves UP, low-key. Closet UP fan, JP Manahan. Let's see. This one. Hindi hinawakan ni Abadiano yung bola habang may oras. Still, majority choices finals, UP and NU. NU has a very good chance of making it, like I said. All right, so that's all for now. A big thank you to everyone who tuned in. I know I've been doing a lot more solo podcast episodes, and a big reason why is because I do these recordings so late and I can't always find the guests, but seems like you guys still tune in even when I ramble on for almost an hour. Jeez. Thanks so much. You guys make sure to follow, leave a review on Spotify, leave a comment on YouTube or Facebook or even Spotify, like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Big thank you once again to our friends Cooper's Coffee House and Daily Fantasy. I am once again going to put the games where Daily Fantasy has big prizes on the line on the ticker on the screen. So make sure to check that out. For those listening on audio, the next big games, Meralco Converge, December 14. Ginebra versus TNT on December 21. Big thank you to our friends. We'll catch you all in the next episode. God bless. We love the UAAP.